Auburn getting a commitment from four-star JT Thor today. That moves Auburn up to, I believe, number 8 in the national rankings. Huge thing. So I think he's ready to go. Huge pickup for Auburn, and maybe a big start to the week for the Tigers. There is Keith.
Yeah, Keith's got allergies right now, and he's going to turn the camera away from his face in a second to the computer screen because I twitch enough as it is. I don't want to scare people away with all my eye twitches and shakes and
sneezing
and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm bad enough normally, but these allergies are killing me right now. I hope everybody's doing all right.
Yeah, I've got my allergies are acting up a little bit.
Well, they say that that's actually a good thing. If you have a lot of allergies, you're whatever. All your stuff's working for you. So who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I had it real bad when I was a kid, but not so much anymore. But it still kicks in.
So I understand you have something you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, JT Thor committing to Auburn. 4-star. As a lot of us know, a kid that had reclassified was I think a 5-star in the 2021 class.
Yeah. I don't know how all that works, but for the younger classes, the rankings are sort of in flux. You know what I mean? They're still accumulating information. They're still seeing guys. And so that's why sometimes a guy can fall when he goes from one class and decides to graduate early. So it's hard to, it doesn't make sense on the surface, but that's just the way it is. But look, he's a really good player. Brandon, 6'8", 6'9", 190. He can shoot it. I think he's a lefty. He can shoot it outside. Yeah. He can take it inside. He can be very good around the basket defensively. You watch a lot of his film. He's got some pretty good post moves. I mean, if it's just one guy against him, he can take the ball, dribble, and get in there and dunk it. Obviously, I think Austin Wiley was a good player, but that's not something he could have done. That wasn't his strength. But that's what JT Thor can bring, some versatility at the power forward position.
Yeah, you're right. He's a left-handed guy. That gives him a little bit of a difference there than people are accustomed to, and adds to a class that already includes 5-star Sharif Cooper, the point guard, 4-star forward Chris Moore out of West Memphis, and of course the guard Justin Powell from Kentucky, who you've talked to, I know, in the past a couple of times. And this starts a big couple of weeks, but really a big week this week coming up for Auburn, because on Friday is when the big fish in the pond for Auburn right now is 5-star Jalen Green out of California. He's going to make his decision on Friday. I think, 2 o'clock, 3 Central, something like that. He's going to do it on Instagram. And I've been told that all those concerns about him going overseas and playing are kaput, that he is going to choose a college. And right now, people at Memphis and Auburn are feeling pretty good at this moment heading into this week.
Yeah, Jalen Green, sensational player. We got a number 3 recruit in the country. By the way, somebody was asking about JT Thor, Brandon. They said I thought he was 6'10". 6'8" to 6'10". Not much difference, obviously.
I know our Jason Caldwell. He said that he's seen him in person. He thinks he's more like 6'9".
Okay. Well, that's I'm looking at the screen here, doing a million things. So Jalen Green, combo guard, 6'5", 170, number 2 combo guard in the country, number 3 recruit in the country, number 2 recruit in California. Lucky guy, goes to school in Ncaa, California, prolific prep, but he's actually from Fresno.
Right.
I got a sister that lives in Fresno, of all places. And, Brandon, we talked about maybe me going out there when he announced, but obviously all this stuff has shut things down. So I guess Auburn feels pretty good about things. In talking with people, including Jalen's coach a few months ago, they really felt like, watch out for Auburn, that he really was enamored with Auburn. One of the questions he had was, the NCAA stuff. Would Auburn be impacted by that stuff relating to Chuck Person? Because he knows he's going to be a one and done for all intents and purposes. He wants to play in the NCAA tournament. Now, obviously, we learned this year that the mother of all anything can happen scenarios did happen. But Jalen Green wants to play in the NCAA tournament. So that was kind of his one apprehension with Auburn. Hey, I need to know, are they going to be okay? Are they going to get in trouble? So and we haven't heard anything, and I'm sure they're telling him all the right things, but fantastic player. And one of the things, Brandon, he's really worked on his jump shot. He can pass. He can dunk. He can, do everything. Perimeter defender, 6'5" with length. But he needed to work on his jumper. So last summer he went and worked with the shooting coach in North Carolina of Steph Curry. Steph Curry's shooting coach. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I mean, that's and so that guy knows what he's doing, obviously. And I'm sure Steph Curry has something to do with helping his reputation. But apparently Jalen Green's jump shot has really taken off. Look, he's really close with the Auburn staff. Bruce has been out there a bunch.
Yep.
Ira, Bowman. I mean, they've all been out there. And it does look like it's Auburn and Memphis. Memphis has Penny Hardaway and Mike Miller on the staff. And those are two guys that have done what all these kids want to do.
Right.
And that resonates with them. Look, Bruce Pearl's a great coach. We all know that. It remains to be seen whether Penny's a great coach. Brandon, you know that but he's been where these kids have been. Okay.
Right.
And Mike Miller too. Apparently Mike Miller is the one that's the ace recruiter, which is funny because he's a real small town boy. I mean, I've actually been to his hometown in Mitchell, South Dakota. That's the school, Brandon, that plays at the Corn Palace, the arena made of corn. Okay. So he's from a small town. And, but I think, he's close. Jalen Green is close with Sharif Cooper, Auburn's 5-star point guard signing. JT Thor was on Instagram today saying, hey, I think they're going to get him. Now, then he later said, well, I don't know where he's going. I just hope Auburn's going to get him. Who knows? Maybe he was tipping his hand. Who knows? Maybe not.
I think who knows? I put a crystal ball in for Jalen Green, I guess, a few weeks ago, for him to go to Auburn. I don't know. Have you put one in, Keith?
Right? Yeah, I put one in a few months ago. Not to try to one up you, but
you're more plugged in than me.
Oh yeah, really. I'm not super plugged in with basketball. I'm trying, but I put one in on February 21st, okay. I think it was. And there are all the crystal balls for Auburn. You can see the Auburn logo right over there. Look, some national experts think Auburn. Some think Memphis. I mean, Memphis signing James Wiseman last year, and he's going to go high in the draft this year. So is Isaac Okoro. But again, what are these guys' goals? What's the end game for these guys? Is to play in the NBA. And I think a lot of these kids are seeing that they can do that at either one of those programs. Now, Bruce Pearl obviously has been there, done that, when it comes to winning multiple Sweet 16s, Elite Eight, I think, at Tennessee, Final Four at Auburn, national title at the smaller school, was great at Wisconsin Milwaukee. So he's won everywhere he's been, okay? Yeah. So you're balancing all that. Memphis, good basketball town. Auburn, great basketball crowds, great atmosphere, maybe the best atmosphere. We cover Auburn, so we kind of get in that Auburn bubble in a sense. And obviously all the Auburn fans think that, okay, why wouldn't he choose Auburn? But it wasn't that long ago when people said, why wouldn't Sharif Cooper choose Kentucky? And he's at Auburn. So it's a battle. But I think people think Auburn, we're going to see. I mean, it's basketball recruiting. It's a lot more unpredictable than football recruiting. I mean, sometimes we've seen it where guys have top fives, and the day they commit, nobody knows where they're going.
Right.
Okay. Nobody has a clue. That's basketball. You don't have that happen in football too often. Yeah. So we'll see. But look, again, he's close with Sharif Cooper. Chris Moore, is one of the Auburn signees, is hearing good things. What's the other kid's name? Justin Powell. Yeah, he said, hey, man, I feel good about it. That's what he told me a few weeks ago. So, Auburn's got a lot of buzz right now, man. I mean, Auburn basketball is owning Twitter right now. I can't even believe we're saying that. Who would have thought, right? Owning Twitter right now. JT Thor, huge commitment, number 51 recruit in the country. Auburn's got the number 8 recruiting class in the country. If they get Jalen Green, they move into the top 5. If they get Jalen Green and Greg Brown, they could end up maybe as high as number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
Brandon, that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, the football program ain't going to get a sniff of number 2.
No.
Okay? Now, you could argue the competition's a little different. You got 25 guys as opposed to 4 to 6, but it's just incredible. But, just thinking that Green maybe – just 1 year to play. Wouldn't you want to play with your buddy? And him and Sharif Cooper are pretty tight.
And here's the other thing. You mentioned, like, these kids, of course, they want to come in. They want to be one-and-done guys, get to the NBA nowadays. But they also want to get to the NCAA tournament because
you're right.
You go in there, that's when you kind of, like, cement your – not legacy, but the part of it, but also you cement yourself as a game changer. Like Ja Morant. I'm probably saying his name incorrectly. I don't follow basketball that much. But the Murray State player, phenomenal. He's phenomenal in the NBA this year. But what I'm saying is this. With Auburn getting JT Thor, you have Sharif Cooper on campus coming soon, already signed. Justin Powell, and I think it just makes sense if you just look at the class that if Jalen Green goes, I'm going to sign with Auburn, Auburn's going to go to the NCAA tournament next year. And that's all you can ask for as far as being able to get more eyes on you and also become like the star of the tournament. Because every NCAA tournament, there's 2 or 3 guys that really pop out. And 2 years ago, you know, a couple of those guys were Bryce Brown and Chuma Okeke and Jared Harper.
Yeah.
Those were becoming household names as seniors, other than Okeke, of course, who went to the NBA. But I guess what I'm saying is this. I don't think – I mean, nothing against Memphis, but if he goes to Memphis, it is not a sure thing that he is going to make the NCAA tournament. If he comes to Auburn, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind they're going to go to the NCAA tournament next year with that roster they've got.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want. By the way, I'm showing JT Thor highlights here, Brandon. I don't know if you can see the split screen. I think people would rather watch that than me. But you know, Memphis historically much better than Auburn. Historically, many Final Fours, great players. Keith Lee, you know, the guy that's in the NBA now. I mean, I can't remember his name, the great guard. I mean, look, a lot of great players,
Derrick
right?
Rose.
But Auburn is in the here and now, right? The here and now, Auburn basketball has absolutely arrived and is that emerging team, that emerging program that everybody seems to be talking about.
Well, that's what's different about basketball compared to football. Tradition doesn't really matter all that much in basketball because it's a matter of what's the roster look like now and what have you done in the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
Memphis hasn't done anything.
Yeah, and also let's remember now, in Memphis's heyday, you know, I'm talking 70s and 80s, and I know they had that great run when Calipari was there, but they were in a different conference. There weren't as many TV games, and when you played Louisville, you were on TV because I think they were both in the Metro at the one time. And now, you know, Memphis is on TV, sure, but they don't have the marquee games during the season that Auburn has. You know, so look, again, we don't know what the kid's going to do, but look at this Auburn program. I mean, it's insane. And Brandon, if they land all these guys, you're talking about one of the best 2 or 3 classes. Well, we'll say a top 5 class in SEC history, not a Kentucky. That they're kind of like off in their own hemisphere or own stratosphere. You think about the UF class where those guys won multiple national titles. Yeah. Arkansas with those great guys in that one class they had. And I know they weren't all in the same class, but a few of them were when they won the national title. I mean, this is an elite class. I mean, you'd have 3 5-star guys. I mean, you know, and by the way, Chris Moore, who's not a 5-star guy, he's a 3-star on the 24/7 Sports Composite. He's a player of the year in the state of Arkansas. Not a big scorer, but they don't ask him to score at his team. They don't ask him to score. He's a scorer and a rebounder, 16 and 12. And then you got Justin Powell, number 2 ranked player in Kentucky, a shooter, 6'5". Could he be there to Lee Hunter? In fact, he said, not Lee Hunter, Lee Humphrey. Lee Hunter's. I get these sports confused, Brandon. Lee Humphrey, the 3-point shooter in the SEC a decade ago. Yeah. He can be that guy, but he's also a scorer. You're talking about a guy that before he had this sports hernia injury was scoring 25, 26 points a game. And by the way, you mentioned Ja Morant. It's funny because that is who Jalen Green's coach compares him to. He is this class's Ja Morant. So, I mean, and hey, it's not only a 5-star. You're talking about the 2 5-stars remaining, Jalen Green and then Greg Brown, who will decide the week after. One of them, Greg Brown's in Austin, Texas, okay? So to get to Auburn, you got to go out of your town. And Texas, I know they're not great now, but historically, and they've been to Final Fours, they played for the national championship. It's not a terrible program, okay? Kevin Durant, I mean, they got big-name guys too. Then you got Baylor a couple hours away, right, which was ranked number 1 for part of the season.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you go through LSU to get to Auburn. You know, they ain't so bad. And so it's just, and then Jalen Green, obviously, from California. And by the way, UCLA, last time I checked, it still won more national titles than anybody. Southern Cal is out-recruiting UCLA right now.
Right.
And they're really on the rise. And, you know, it's just – I don't know. It's just – it blows you away what Bruce Pearl is able to do. It's phenomenal.
Here's what I remember. I remember when Bruce Pearl first came to Auburn. He was coming off the show cause. He was in California a lot back then. That was 5, 6 years ago. And he just knows everybody, like a lot of head coaches do when they've been around forever. But he he has made it a point to make some connections out there, and that has obviously proven fruitful with guys like Jalen Green, and in the past with a couple of other guys that come in. But you mentioned, I want to bring this up before I forget it. You mentioned that, you know, these top tier recruits that Auburn's brought in as far as on the all-time list, if they were to get either Greg Brown or Jalen Green or both, they would be the number one recruits ever in Auburn history.
Yeah.
Based off their ratings in the 24/7 Sports Composite. Jalen Green, of course, is ranked a little bit higher than Greg Brown, but either one of them would be your top recruit that has ever committed to Auburn or signed with Auburn, and that includes guys like Mustafa Heron, of course, Jared Brown, Bryce Brown, who weren't really highly recruited or highly ranked, Austin Wiley, and you look at it now, I think, what is it, like 6 of the top 7 or 6 of the top 8 commitments in Auburn history, at least in the modern era since internet recruiting started kicking up, have come under Bruce Pearl. And that includes guys like Mustafa Heron, who ended up transferring to St. John. So, listen, it's a remarkable, the recruiting job they've done, but keep this in mind. I mean, they made that Final Four run and then went 25-6 this year with guys that were not necessarily 5-star one-and-done guys. This team this past season were a bunch of seniors with a lot of experience being kind of buoyed a little bit by some freshmen and sophomores. Next year is going to be a pretty young team, and what's going to change the, I guess, outlook of it is some people, I mean, you already see it, Auburn's not ranked in any of these early preseason rankings that people are putting out. But if you get guys like Jalen Green, obviously they already got JT Thor to go with Sharif Cooper and everything, they're gonna be in the preseason polls. They're gonna be a team that's gonna be in the mix for the SEC. And here's another thing. Evan Daniels brought this up. As you can see there, he's on Keith's screen right now. Evan Daniels made a point of 5 of the top 8 schools in the basketball recruitings right now are from the SEC. And Auburn's the lowest ranked one in those five schools right now. But if they were to get Jalen Green and or Greg Brown, they would jump considerably, probably in the top 4 just with getting Jalen Green. So there's a lot of movement to be made. And I'll tell you this, Auburn's very confident in Jalen Green right now. Of course, as you said, no one really knows until like a day or two before nowadays, if that. But they feel about as good as they can right now with Jalen Green. And if they get Jalen Green on Friday, boy, this will probably be the best recruiting week in Auburn basketball history without a doubt. And I know some people are asking about Greg Brown. We've talked about him a little bit. I don't see him committing to Auburn. I think he's going to go to Texas. Just from reading the tea leaves and everything, you never know. But it's one of those situations where you get JT Thor and then Jalen Green. Does Greg Brown sit there with an extra week to think about because he's not committing till April 24th? Does he sit there and think, you know what, maybe I want to go play on that team for a year or two?
Well, Brandon, here's the thing. Auburn bringing in Bruce is one with 3- and 4-star guys.
Yeah.
And so people automatically say, well, wait till you see what he does with 5-star guys. Doesn't always work that way. Bruce knows that. Do the 5-star guys hustle as much as the 3-star guy? Do they develop? So there's no guarantee. There's no gimmies, obviously, right? But on the other hand, Bruce Pearl's got a pretty good track record of, well, I'll just put it this way. I've been following his teams for about 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen a Bruce Pearl team where every single guy on the team didn't hustle.
Exactly.
It's uncanny, okay? Uncanny. So you feel like that, plus, even if these guys are one-and-done guys, what do they need to do in that 1 year? They need to do what Isaac Okoro did. Hustle every single time they have the ball. So the effort combined with their obvious talents is what makes you think, oh, my God, this could be pretty impressive. So, look, they're in a great spot. They're in a great spot. I think this was a key one today because you got to have some guys to replace McLemore and Wiley. And, they got some young interior players, Stretch, but he's an unknown.
Right.
Jalen Williams has got some potential, but he's not 6'10", He's more like 6'6", but is he some kind of fantastic athlete that can also shoot threes. Maybe an upgrade over McLemore. I don't know, Brandon. You cover the team more than I do, but The place that they're in right now is just uncharted waters. And, you know, Greg Brown's, yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe having Jalen Green go first, if Auburn does land Jalen Green, does make Brown think, okay, what can we do? What can these guys do together? You know, what can we as a group of 6 guys do? And it's a pretty talented group, and it's so talented that we ain't even talking about Sharif Cooper right now, who's an elite distributor. Now, he scored a lot of points, scored 30 points a game. Oh, by the way, JT Thor was also first-team All-State in Georgia in the same classification, I should point out, as Sharif Cooper. And Sharif Cooper almost single-handedly got his team to the Final Four this year. And, yeah, he's scoring high school. In college, he's probably going to be more of a distributor because he's 6 foot and 150 pounds. And I saw him play twice this year, and I can't recall seeing too many guys with his vision. Okay, yeah, he can shoot. He can make threes. He can do all that.
Right.
He can drive. He's got to work on his ball handling for a guy that size. He has to. But to be on one end of the court and to see guys 35 feet away the way he sees them, it's like a great quarterback. It really is. I mean, it's one thing to make a pass on a fast break to a guy that's trailing, you know that. By the way, that ain't easy to do either. But it's what he sees when he's on one side of the court that he sees on the other. And then also when he's moving, he's so comfortable with the ball and his body that he sees things develop before others do. And you get him and Jalen Green together, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of dunks, Brandon.
Yeah.
A lot of dunks. I mean, a lot. It's just mind-boggling to think that this is happening at Auburn now. And I think people that know Bruce say he doesn't feel like he's finished. Like, I don't mean recruiting. I mean overall. Like, he thinks he's just getting started. Okay.
But that's the thing about basketball. It takes a couple key pieces and then 2 or 3 good years. And then, like I said, tradition doesn't matter as much in basketball these days. It just doesn't, because of one and dones. You're
right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep talking over you. I do that all the time, as you know. But Gonzaga, perfect example. Let's go back to like 1997, 98.
Yeah.
Didn't know much about them. They had John Stockton played there, but they weren't like a household name. I think they made it to the Elite 8 in 1999. And then now Gonzaga is the West Coast blue blood of this generation. It's not UCLA. It's Gonzaga. And, came close to winning a national title and have been a number 1 seed a few times. And then Butler. Butler was just kind of a team that would get into the NCAA tournament every now and then. And then sure enough, about 10 years ago, they start making runs and played in back-to-back championship games. I don't want to compare Auburn to Butler. That's a much smaller school, not as big a overall profile. But the point is, in basketball, it can be done. The question is, are you going to be a George Mason that does it once, or are you going to be a team that's knocking on the door a lot? And Auburn is getting to that point where you're like, okay, look, a few weeks ago you're thinking, who are they going to replace all these guys with? And now they're replacing them with guys like JT Thor and maybe Greg Brown and maybe Jalen Green. And as a fan, it would certainly give you a lot of a lot of hope. There's no doubt. I mean, again, the competition's fierce, but Auburn was only 4th in the SEC last season, last year, right? 4th, Brandon, and went to the Final Four. So, it's all about finding those right combinations. 5th, I'm sorry. So the amount of wins over the last 3 years, the schedule keeps getting better. There's more marquee games. More people are talking about you. More people are tweeting about you. Your coach is on TV all the time. Your games are all of a sudden on ESPN highlights like never before at the end of the night. And it is amazing where this program is. They are clearly, Kentucky's Kentucky, right? And Auburn has beat Kentucky. I'm not saying that. But historically, Kentucky's Kentucky. But right now, there's not another school in the South that's getting that kind of airtime and that kind of exposure that Auburn's getting. And it's deserved. They had to scratch tooth and nail for that, and they got it.
Keith, there's a question in the chat. So I think from WD Recruiting, or I can't remember what the name was. But you've seen Sharif play in person. You've seen Jared Harper play in person. How does Sharif Cooper's speed compare to Jared Harper? Because that's how Jared Harper created baskets.
Yeah.
Just driving the lane and just burning that by people.
Okay, so I think Harper is quicker driving to the basket. Cooper is more Harper's faster. Cooper's feet may be quicker, but he starts and stops on a dime. He's like a great running back, Brandon, that's running and all of a sudden stops and the defender keeps going and then he goes right around him. That's kind of Sharif Cooper. I think Harper gets to the basket better than him. But remember, Jared Harper's 4 years older than him. When Jared Harper was a freshman and a sophomore, he wasn't getting to the basket like he was his last couple of years, right? You covered the team, correct? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he understood how to play at that height in those trees and fadeaways and lean-aways and all those tough buckets. As Sharif gets better at that, sure. But I'll tell you right now, I think Sharif Cooper's vision is probably better right now than Jared Harper's was. Defensively, they both had a lot to work on because they're smaller guys. Right. You know, that's what team defense is for, you know, and that's why, by the way, you bring in guys like JT Thor that can defend inside and outside. Chris Moore, same thing. Jalen Williams, same thing. But no, I think they're comparable. Let's put it that way. But again, I think people that are expecting Sharif Cooper to score 25 points a game at Auburn are not looking at the overall of his game and his height. What you can do at high school isn't always transferable to college on the interior as a guy 6 feet tall, very thin. He's going to take a lot of hits now. In high school, a guy 160 pounds is knocking you to the ground. In college, That guy's 240. So there's an accumulative effect on your body there too. So there's a lot of differences there. But in talking to his coach, and Brandon, we actually sound like basketball guys here, but in talking to his coach, he says he's going to be more of a distributor at Auburn. That's what I, as his high school coach, envision. And there's nothing wrong with that. But he can score, and he can shoot free throws at above 80%. You can put the ball in his hand at the end of the game, which was obviously an issue for Auburn this past season. So there's a lot he can do, and he's going to get better, and he's probably not a one-and-done guy because of his size. So at the very least, you're probably going to get 2 years out, and you may get 3 or 4. And he's just going to get better and better, and he's smart. He's very smart, guys. His sister is a great basketball player as well. She plays at Baylor. His dad is the personal coach to both of them. He's from Newark, not to knock Atlanta. Great basketball town. State of Georgia's unbelievable. Basketball is literally in this kid's blood, Sharif Cooper, okay? Yeah. I mean, he's from up in Jersey, okay? That is it. That is the sport there. He's played it since the day he was born practically, okay?
I don't want to keep you on here too.
No, you're fine,
Keith. But like I said, it's a big week ahead. I mean, Friday, it could cap the biggest recruiting week for Auburn basketball in its history, to be honest. If Jalen Green were to commit to Auburn, everybody hopes that Auburn sweeps and gets the 3 kids: Greg Brown, JT Thor, and Jalen Green. Jalen Green announces Friday. And on April 24th, Greg Brown announces. Of course, JT Thor announced today with our Evan Daniels, 24/7 Sports, he's coming to Auburn. Does Auburn get 1 of the 3, 2 of the 3, or 3 of 3? And let you have the final word there.
Boy, they got a lot of momentum. If you're only going to play 1 year, you're going to play for a team that may or may not make the tournament. Are you going to play for a team where the coach is on the hot seat, which is Texas? And he could, by the way. Greg Brown, speaking of him.
Yeah.
And then you got Auburn, though, that just seems to be that hot it program. And there's just so much buzz out there. Brandon, I'm going to roll the dice and say they got a shot to get all 3. They got a real shot.
That would be something. I think that would make Auburn the basketball story of the offseason as far as on the recruiting trail. That would be huge. Keith, thanks for joining me on here. And keep at it. Stay safe, of course. Stay locked up in that condo.
Well, we got this big storm coming through right now. I'm a tad concerned, but what did they do before weather reports? I mean, every storm is now the storm of the century now. You know
it's scary. Well, it's scary, man, because I mean, my goodness, look at the hurricanes of the past, like the hurricane hit Galveston. You didn't know it was coming, and it was just I mean, it was devastating.
I'll tell you, it gives you a lot of respect for the people who lived here 100, 150 years ago.
Dude.
Didn't know this stuff was coming and toughed it out.
You wake up one day and there's a tornado in your backyard. You had no idea. Thought it was me son.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everybody understood what I was saying. It wasn't too much BS. Everybody, take care. Yeah, take care. Be safe and happy Easter to everybody.
All right. Thanks, Keith. See you around. All right, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to request and join the video podcast here. Do I feel confident about Jalen? Yes. I put in a crystal ball for Jalen Green to Auburn on February 17th. Jack. Is your name Jack?
What's going on, man? No, I was just wondering, like, what you think about Auburn's depth next year, like our whole depth chart, like how deep you think our bench is going to be. Because I know might be a little bit top heavy, but I was just wondering how you think our depth's going to be.
I think they'll be fine. Here's the thing. I know we talked a lot about just Jalen Green and Greg Brown, but if one or both of those guys, quote unquote, fall through, they've got some backup plans that they're going to bring in and certainly commit. They're also still looking on the grad transfer market. They really wanted to add a graduate transfer, no matter the position, because they feel like they need a little experience out there. Because this team's going to be very young. I think we all know that. I mean, they're losing so many seniors.
Freshmen and sophomores.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Mostly freshmen and sophomores from Jamal.
You could win like that if they're all 4 and 5 star guys and they're confident, which is what they're trying to get to. But they want to add one piece in there that is experienced. And that's why I know pretty much like every graduate transfer you've seen hit the market, Auburn has contacted that player no matter the position. And everybody's like, why are they reaching out to this forward when they're going after that? It's because they want an experienced guy that can come in and play a role, maybe not necessarily start, but can play a role and kind of help them kind of cohese a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jake, I'll let you go, man.
Hey, thanks for taking my question, man.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, if you want to jump on the chat, make a request, and I will try to answer your questions. Again, I think that Auburn's in a territory now where you were seeing them getting a 4-star and a 5-star here and there, but now you're getting to a point where you might see them pick up 2 5-stars every year. We got another request here from Jack. Let's see if he wants to jump on board.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jack, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, how you doing? You see my hat right here?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I got a question real quick. All right, let's say we land Jalen Green. Who's the big man on campus, him or Bo Nix?
Oh, man. Well, here's one thing to consider. Is there a football season?
Well, yeah, that is one thing to think about for sure.
Or for that matter, does football season start in January?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the big man on campus? I think it all just depends on performance. If Bo Nix comes out and just has an incredible first couple of months before the football season starts, it'll be Bo. It'll be Bo by far. Jalen, I think, most these freshmen, these phenoms, you don't really start hearing their name, no matter the campus, unless it's Duke or Kentucky, until like midway through conference season for some reason. And it's been like that for the longest time. Whereas in football, you have a guy that's on fire 2-3 weeks in the season, all of a sudden they're a Heisman front runner, and everybody's obsessed with them. So I'd say Bo Nix right now.
Okay. What are your predictions for him next year?
For Bo, I'm not necessarily on board with the Deshaun Watson pick when Deshaun was saying he's going to throw for whatever it was. I can't remember the numbers. They were numbers that would break a lot of Auburn records.
Yeah, because the Chad Morris hire. A lot of the next Clemson guys coming out saying the whole Bo Nix thing.
I don't see that just because, and it's just my main concern for Auburn football is that offensive
line. Yep.
That is.
I agree.
If they play adequate and well enough, Bo Nix will have a big year. If they're just a little bit below normal and subpar, that could spell trouble for Bo. He'll be scrambling and running for his life. Like last year, yeah. And they need a strong running game this year to help them out. And I think the running game will be better this year, but
I agree.
Will we see it be better? Because it depends on that offensive line. But we'll see.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thanks, man. Of course, JT Thor committing today on a Sunday. And Jalen Green coming up Friday. Does he commit to Auburn? We'll see. It looks like it's between, obviously, Memphis and Auburn for Jalen Green, the 5-star recruit. Put a crystal ball in for Jalen Green, as I mentioned, for Auburn back in February. I think Auburn feels pretty good where they're at, but I talked to some people close to the Memphis program yesterday, and they felt pretty good. So we'll see. Dapper asks, it's amazing that Isaac Okoro's departure is really driving the recruiting. I thought he needed another year. What do you think? Listen, he's got a ton of upside, which is an easy cliche to say. but he really does. He has a ton of upside, but he's also ready to play in the NBA. And what makes him ready to play in the NBA, Okoro, is that he played so well defensively this past season. And he's got that offensive game. He's so smooth getting to the basket, but that defense is what's going to carry him into the NBA. And heck, you're seeing him now. He's all the way up to maybe a top 4, top 3 pick in the NBA draft. And this was a guy that was borderline lottery pick, which is still great. And now people are talking about him being like a top 5 pick. So anyway, the whole idea that maybe Isaac Okoro, maybe he comes back to Auburn, I think you can erase that doubt right now. I think he's completely gone. I don't see how you pass that up if you're going to be a top 5 pick. There's no way. So, all right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining myself, Keith Niebuhr, as we broke down the JT Thor commitment. What's ahead with Jalen Green making an announcement this upcoming Friday as he decides about Auburn and Memphis, and then Greg Brown on April 24th. Big day on a Sunday for Auburn basketball as they land 4 and maybe set the stage for more for Auburn basketball. Thanks, everybody. Make sure to go to auburn.247sports.com for much more coverage. And as always, I'll see you down the road.
No one has it covered like 24/7 Sports. Go undercover with Auburn Undercover.